Hi everybody. I wanted to stop in real quick and make a quick response video. Lena Norms came out with a video recently where she explores her thesis, explaining the origins or the plot hole as to why Elphaba is allergic to water. And I'll post a link in the description. I think that I have a complementary, let's say, theory. Not a thesis, not as well thought out as hers. I highly recommend you go listen to her video and watch it. She's got cool diagrams and things like that that kind of describe her understanding or her analysis of how Gregory Maguire and Elphaba and their universes kind of combine to kind of formulate the reality of Elphaba, both fictional and, I'm not going to say dimensional, but interstory. These different worlds that exist. Elphaba's Oz, Gregory Maguire's Oz, Elphaba's Oz, which is understandably of both worlds, of the world of Oz, but also of the world of reality, of Kansas, where Dorothy and the Wizard are from, where the Grimoire is from, things like that. And honestly, where we're from, we're the reader, we're the audience. And so I just wanted to do a quick response video to that because I have an understanding of what I think is the reason behind why she's allergic to it. And it's supported in the first chapters of Wicked. They don't necessarily not complement her theory. It does poke a couple little holes, but I'll address those. I don't want to discredit hers because honestly, I love the headcanon that I've got going on, and her theory actually kind of like fits pretty well into what I've got going on in my brain. But I wanted to start out. So in the very first chapter, I think it's called The Roots of Evil, after the prologue, they talk, so there's a fight at the end of it where Frex says, the devil's here, the devil's coming. And Melina says, don't say that on the day that our child is expected. He's like, you know what I meant. And ultimately, she's saying that maybe he cursed the baby. And he's thinking maybe if he didn't directly curse the baby, maybe he left the window open for the devil to come in. So there's already this understanding that they're considering her to be evil. As she's born into the world within the clock of the time dragon, so she's literally birthed from a dragon, what color would you expect a dragon to be? Well, ask yourself the same question about what, Americans past the 1950s think a witch is going to be. She's going to be green with a long nose and a wart and a broom. So of course we're all influenced by the film, not necessarily by Elphaba's original stories of Oz. So listen to Lena's explanation because there's a lot of really cool interplay between the author, the reader, the protagonists, and the different worlds, the Elphaba version, as well as the Gregory Maguire version. It's really cool. You got to listen to it. Again, I'll put the link in the description. My theory, I think, might kind of undermine hers a little bit, but I'm going based off of what I comprehend from the language here. The minute she's born, one of the midwives says that she is rotten. They're saying that she's ill, she's feeble, lose it in a puddle, drown the thing. They're basically saying, let's kill the baby, drown it, tell the mother it didn't survive, because she's green, she's rotten. When Nanny first meets Elphaba, she calls her green, or she thinks it. She thinks, oh, she's green as sin. And she does ask Frex, if by some curse she was, the goods were spoiled, how do we fix it? He says, well, let's give her an exorcism. Nanny says, okay, go for it, by all means. And it fails. And so after the exorcism doesn't work, Nanny suggests sorcery, and Frex is like, not in this house. And he goes as far as to say, as if having a green daughter wasn't insult enough. So Elphaba has this home life from the minute she's born. They're suggesting that they drown her in water, but also all of the adults are trying to figure out some way to ungreenify her. And that that's not a very healthy place for somebody to be mentally. And you know, being of both worlds, obviously we're talking about fiction and we're talking about magic. She has innate magical abilities. In Lena's theory, it does stem from her comprehension of the fact that she's from both worlds, and that she is a fictional character written on a page of the Grimoire. We know that the Grimoire is actually based off of I think a 17th century grimoire, French grimoire, something like that. I go over it in my first video of the book analysis. I'll have to look it up again. I don't remember. My short-term memory doesn't live that long. But she's suggesting that maybe the Grimoire is, let's say, symbolizing the original L. Frank Baum Oz series. They even go as far in Wicked, when Elphaba asks how the book came to be in Kiamako. Sarima says that an old wizard-like person, not the Wizard of Oz, left it there, saying that's and to keep instructing her to keep the Grimoire safe. Well, Elphaba doesn't find the Grimoire until after she's already defied gravity. After she's already lost Fiero, gone to the Monterey, gave birth to Lear, and escaped off into the west. So the Grimoire does not play a part in the story until way later. But Elphaba has this fear of water from the very beginning. At the end of the last chapter before we jump to the Shiz years, she actually she gets lost playing with the looking glass that Turtle Heart made for her, and the family. They're kind of like they're drunk on life, and Nanny's putting Melina to bed, and they say that they can't find the baby. Nanny's freaking out, and they're suggesting that this animal came down from the hill and has attacked her. Or that Nanny suggests, like, oh no, not down by the lake. She can't abide water. Not that girl. You know that. And so we know from the very beginning that she, let's say, has a distaste for water. Maybe because the moment she was born, they suggested drowning her. Maybe since every person that's seen her has called her rotten or spoiled or ill or sin. She's green as sin, or these unclean things. And how do you clean something? How do you baptize? You do it with water. And so in a way, she has a negative association with water from the beginning, with an innate magical power, maybe. I think it's video 5 of my deep dive analysis of the novel, where I talk about her different powers of her, Glinda, and Nessa Rose. But it's the power of suggestion, or the power of willing something into existence, the power the power of suggestion. I can't think of a better way to describe it. They're suggestible, meaning that if they think something is real, they have a power to manifest it. And so from the very beginning, she may not control it, but she has a fear of water. And that fear of water has manifested into, they don't describe it in the early chapters, but into there's some negative reaction that she either has emotionally, mentally, or maybe physically, but they don't actually say that until later. And to also further talk about, the presence of this allergy to water prior to meeting the Grimoire, there is a scene in Shiz where Glinda and Elphaba are having an excited conversation about books. And even though Glinda doesn't necessarily intentionally try to sound interested, Elphaba catches that, oh wait, she does read. So there's a brain inside of these little blonde curls. And so through this exchange, something happens outside where there's a microstorm that apparently doesn't happen anywhere else. Who knows who made that happen? But the shutters open and water comes into the room. And while Glinda is, hustling to close the window to fix it, Elphaba's shrinking away, and Glinda's like, are you okay? What's going on? It's just water. So we know that Elphaba has a visceral response to water. Maybe it's psychosomatic, maybe it's magicked upon her through some, subconscious whatever, but this has happened already prior to her ever getting her hands onto the Grimoire. Not that I don't like Lena's theory. Lena, I wish I could fully think out all of like my analysis in the way that you have, because I love it. I love every aspect of it, because later, once you do, once you do come to understand how, when she grows into her power, once we as the reader come to understand what's happening, why it's happening, or at least kind of have an idea of why it's happening, I think that's where Lena's theory kind of steps in and says, Elphaba herself wants to know why something that has always been might have manifested. And so it's almost like she's taking this comprehension of being of both worlds, which, by the way, she doesn't learn until almost toward the end of the book, after the Clock of the Time Dragger presents to her the play in 3 acts. And this is after Madame Morrible has been murdered. Before, her corpse is mutilated by a very angry Elfie. Elfie gets drunk at one of the boys, not Crope and Tibbet, but yeah. Anyway, she goes and gets drunk, and they have like a little dissertation on, the nature of evil. And then she walks away from it, runs into the Clock of the Time Dragon. That's when it tells her she might be the daughter of the wizard. And she said, no. So up until that point, she has not put 2 and 2 together. She has not had any comprehension of being of both worlds. It's just she's just been living that life, and now it's finally being explained to her. And so that's where Lena's theory can come in and start to explain how Elphaba perceives what has always been her life. And so, again, it's not explicitly outlined in the book. This is just my headcanon. And I'm taking her theory. Again, I'm going to link her video in the description here, because you need to go listen to it. It's a pretty brilliant thesis. And I think that it complements how it's written in the book. So we could very well understand the mechanics of how it comes to be, how this magic is happening or why it's happening, using Lena's theory. But then I take it that extra step to take the actual narrative and apply it to the affliction she has. We, as the reader, may comprehend what's going on, but Elphaba doesn't. And so Elphaba's life is only what she's lived. And so it's taking her understanding of everything, plus our understanding as the reader, because, in Lena's theory, Elphaba becomes a reader, and that's why she's of both worlds, because she is both a character and a reader. And there's 2 authors, Maguire and Elphaba. So anyway, I'm butchering her theory, but go listen to her video. It's really cool. It's inspiring. Obviously, it inspired me to make a bonus video here. And I'll put the link in the description. Share, comment, like hers and mine if you want to. But again, mine's just a response to her theory, and then taking it a step further, and then using the actual words that are in the book to explain what I think is the source of her allergy to water. Thank you so much. Like, share, comment, whatever you want. And this is Jughead, my dog. Bye, everybody.